Who nominated this? And then Jessica. Yeah. It's doing. We'll get there. It's a slow process. No one just like jumps into this doing it perfect. All right. The link is loading the fucking thing again. The thumbnail. I'm down. Play like 3 chords of guitar. Like and subscribe. Page. Okay. Yep. Tell me when.
I think you were in on it. Let's see. Hello, everybody out there. If you are waiting for the Waiting for Guffman episode, thank you very much. You won't be waiting for too long. You certainly won't be waiting indefinitely. You will be waiting till just after 3 p.m. Say hi, Rochelle.
Hi. How's everyone doing today? That was really loud. I hope I didn't peek.
All right, we'll find out. And a 3, 2. Welcome, any and all, to Views in Paradox, the newly branded episode 2. I'm your host, John Olson, and I'm joined, as always, this week and every week by Rochelle Racine. Welcome.
Hi guys, welcome. Happy to have you.
So this week we're talking Waiting for Guffman. If this is your first time watching the show, or if you sort of tuned out the end of the last episode, basically what happened is I put up a question in the chat about, and this is the Facebook group chat that is the Movie Club Collective, which is the old name of the show. Hold on, let me center my eyeline. So I put up a question in the chat about cult classics because it had rated very high in a poll that we put there. And a lot of stuff came back. The most pressing was, in fact, for Princess Bride, which is a pretty universally loved movie. But the Movie Club Collective and this sort of stream of podcasts that I've done have covered that movie in the past. But it also kind of spurred the question of, like, what is a cult classic? Because there were some very obtuse picks, and there were, like, Princess Bride crowd favorite kinds of picks. There was, like, a few for Rocky Horror. We could have done Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Just wasn't easily accessible for free. Well, neither was Guffman.
Yeah, in the end, neither was Guffman. Though I do think this one... Yeah.
Can I pop in and say it's on Vudu, though? If you don't know what that app is, it's a streaming app. It's free, but you get commercials.
Commercials! Watch ads. They make the world go round. They
do.
Ads.
Consumer society.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to say that before I forgot.
All good. Waiting for Guffman was our pick that was nominated. It was nominated within the group by Rachel Collins, who was actually on the Princess Bride episode. So shout out to Rachel. Thank you for participating.
And then Jessica Giulio, formally, as you said, seconded it.
Yeah.
So
she was like, I second this. And it felt very formal, so it seemed only appropriate that we would then go.
And then one more thing. It was kind of a selfish decision on my part as well. I'm taking a bunch of improv classes right now. I'm brand new to improv. And one of the teachers was like, you have to watch this movie. So I was like, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah. I feel like with the Christopher Guest movie, you could kind of pick any of them. So like you could pick Best in Show. I'm kind of surprised these didn't kind of get pulled up. Or you could pick for your consideration.
Classic, right? And I feel like this type, like sketch acting improv, is like a very specific taste.
Right. It is. You can see where it's a niche genre. It knows that it's kind of made for a niche audience. Whatever that is, people who are curious about curiosities in the world. And this one is like essentially, I feel like, the one that kind of defines mockumentary as a subgenre. Or it's early enough that it followed up This Is Spinal Tap, which is on its own, cult classic. And some people's favorite. But this is the first one that Christopher Guest kind of does on his own. He would go on to do many more of these and is, for all we know, filming one right now. That's neither rumor nor substantiated. But this one is kind of like the quintessential, and it's essentially the same plot that he uses for almost all of his films. They're always waiting on a MacGuffin, and I think that Guffman's name is a very sort of clear nod to the MacGuffin, which he's always got this thing that and for your consideration, they think that they're up for an Oscar, and so everybody goes into a frenzy, and Best in Show is a little different because the stakes are always just kind of the stakes of winning the dog show, which is so prestigious. You know, the dog show.
Some people it is.
Yeah, but yeah, this one I feel like is kind of early in that run. There are many mockumentaries now, but at the time, this was a very niche product that he was kind of making, and kind of puts a stamp on his style in a way that like Wes Anderson has a style, right?
Right.
Like these movies all are very much Christopher Guest movies.
Yes.
And if you see other mockumentaries done in this kind of like intercut between talking heads and like, it's just such a standard all-purpose style that you can see it in pretty much anyone else who does something similar to this. Just kind of this look at ridiculous people.
Do you like the mockumentary style? Is that like your thing? I know a lot of people love it. It's like also kind of cultish.
I there's some good ones. There's also some good like ridiculous documentaries that are almost like these sort of meta real mockumentaries, like kind of like what the big one of the moment. I feel like the moment's past though, the crocodile guy. The Tiger King. Sorry, Tiger King.
The crocodile.
There were like swamps and stuff. I don't know.
That garbage man with Steve Irwin. Okay.
I would not dream.
National treasure.
I would not dream. But no, the Tiger King is like this kind of, it's almost a parody on this kind of parody, where it's like we're gonna do a real story that's even more ridiculous than what Christopher Guest can come up with.
I have to say something real quick. I haven't seen Tiger King, but instead of saying
Neither
bruising for a bruising, we all need to start saying asking for a Baskin.
Asking for a Baskin? What's
Put
that?
that in your vernacular. Okay, so Carol Baskin supposedly killed her husband.
Oh, Carol Baskins. I have. Okay, yeah. I've heard this
So
name.
asking for a Baskin.
Yeah, asking for. I'm not going to use that.
TikTok, and it just tickled me.
I have neither watched nor will I promote Tiger King.
And I refuse to watch it. Like, I refuse. There's so much good stuff on Netflix. Like,
yeah, there's enough. You can watch reruns of good things.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm judging you all. Sorry.
Yeah, no judgment. So anyway, waiting for Guffman. Let's go through the particulars.
Okay. So, synopsis. As we were kind of alluding to earlier, an aspiring director and his marginally talented cast of small town Missouri, Midwestern, musical production, they just go overboard when they learn that someone from Broadway, Guffman, will be in attendance of the opening night of their production. And hilarity ensues.
Yeah. So yeah, it's small town production. They've got 150th anniversary coming up, and they've decided to put on a show commemorating the town's history, which like right away, the idea that like they're gonna get someone from Broadway to come in and pick up their show when it's so niche in its like specificity to this tiny town of people who got tricked into thinking they were in California.
So the town's name is Blaine. I'm not sure if it's a real place, but even if it was, I doubt that anyone, especially Americans, would be able to point it out on a map unless you like lived in the general vicinity.
Blaine, Missouri. Yeah, I just assumed that this is a fake town in Missouri proper. This has got definitely like Pawnee vibes, like Parks and Recreation. It has very similar vibes to the way that they present the history of their town and stuff, where they're just, oh yeah, it was terrible. But we'll be proud of it. So yeah, they want to like do this whole big show where they have appreciation for the town's stool business.
Right? So they got on map of Missouri.
Yeah, that's how they got stools. Put them on the map.
Chairs are so last year.
Yeah, Georgia so last year. What was the big final note in the history? Because it was like the founder who tricked them, and then there was the stool proliferation,
And
and
then the UFO.
oh right, and then there was the UFO that landed.
Yeah.
Which
They
that
they
story is awful.
yeah, it is awful. I feel like they were like it was more like our alien invasion was more like interesting. It's not the right word, but interesting than Roswell. But for some reason, the story got oppressed because it's ridiculous. But they
Yeah.
didn't.
When they introduced the farmer, I was like, is this in bad taste? Because it's just like you're like, oh, this is somebody who's been sexually assaulted on a terrible level, and like that should be looked into, like it should be investigated. It's this like horrible thing that they're passing off as like a UFO.
Do you think that if this film were made in today's day and age, they would touch on the sexual assaults?
I feel like it would be handled a little bit differently.
More decorum.
Yeah, like, there's so many homophobic jokes where the jokes are about sort of being homophobic. So it's sort of ahead of its time in that sense, but also like, yeah, it just like the plot like this wouldn't quite ride today, I feel like.
Right. I agree. Unless I mean minor adjustments would have to be made, but and then again, I would stick with the cult aspect of this, like satirical humor is very.
It would still be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an interesting to kind of look on it even through not that long a lens. It's like mid-90s, right?
Yeah. 1986.
86, mid-80s, my bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you said 86? Yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
believe.
directed by Christopher Guest.
Yes.
Writers Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy.
Right.
And it stars Christopher Guest, Fred Willard, and Catherine O'Hara, which is one of my queens.
Catherine O'Hara. Yeah, Eugene Levy, who would later go on to really be famous from the American Pie movies.
As a dad.
As the dad, but he's in every one of these Christopher Guest movies also. And then Catherine O'Hara, she's famous from like she's the mom in Home Alone, right?
Yes, and also in
and in Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
She's
I loved
great
her.
in it.
And
Yeah.
then most recently, she's been the mother in Schitt's Creek. If you haven't watched that, not sure what you're doing with your life, go watch that.
We watched a few, me and Brianna. Maybe we'll watch more. We'll see. You're a big fan?
Huge fan.
Right.
Like the character development and arcs in that show is hilarious. Like
Nice.
hilarious.
Um,
Isn't he? Yeah. What's his name? Eugene Levy's in it too.
Oh, that's right. It's the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not coupled in this film, but
Right.
but no, a nice connection. And then Fred Willard rounds out the cast really, as Catherine O'Hara's husband, who's like clearly just like dying to be on stage. He's got like that little kid energy about.
He's my favorite.
I mean, Fred Willard just like always kind of goes Fred Willard, but it's a good. If it's the only card you have to play, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Very. Yeah.
He's so ridiculous. He's so hammy.
So
Yes.
we'll get into like the key scene. So it begins with actually we have to discuss the opening scene.
Which one's the opening?
with the security.
Oh yeah, with the town. It's so good.
Would you please explain it? Full spoilers, by the way.
Okay, yeah. So going from here on out, full spoilers for the movie. We're gonna talk about it like you've seen it. We're just gonna kind of go through some of our favorite stuff that we want to talk about. One of which is they're like planning security for a parade. It's like, right?
Yeah.
For the 150th year, and they've got this model of 10. He's like, we're gonna play snipers here, and we're gonna play sniper, another like watchtower sniper over there, and they're like, is all that really necessary?
And it was funny, even then, like the polarizing reactions
Oh my
to
God,
it
it was
within like the
ridiculous.
characters. Like some were like, "Hell yeah, America," and the other one was like, "Is that really necessary?
Really?
Like, isn't it a little too much?"
Some are just like down for it. Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So down.
snipers on all the rooftops. Uh, that guy. What's that actor's name? Um, he's like the one who's really, Michael Hitchcock. Yeah, so he's the one who's doing that, and he's also the one who really wants to get into the show. So they do auditions, and he immediately gets snubbed, and he's like, there was a conflict. I was working on the day of the auditions, and I asked if we could reschedule, but Corky said, no, that's welcome to show business. So he's just out of the show. And he's just like the most into it. Yeah, so they hold a show, and we get.
Well, no, they hold auditions.
Yeah, they announced they're gonna do a show, and they're hiring
yeah.
Corky, and then they hold auditions. Also, they introduced the other teacher, right? So
Right.
like there's a school teacher who's gonna be the music director, and he's like, I've directed this thing for 15 years, but this year things are gonna be different. Like he's just somebody who's just been like used and stepped on.
He regretfully hands over the reins.
Yeah, he's just like super resigned. He's like, man, I've been doing this for over a decade.
And now you're just ripping it from my hands.
And to have Corky do it. So they're judging them together, and they're funny because he obviously hates that he's been usurped, but occasionally does try to like,
Be useful and not.
objective and like try to find the best singers.
So the musical auditions in those scenes were actually the actors' very first public performances of their respective audition pieces.
Okay, so they use
I have
first
to say
takes.
that fact confuses me a little bit because, according to the internets, the vast majority of this movie was improv minus the closing song of the production. So,
I feel like though to say that it's unscripted, it's probably like how Curb Your Enthusiasm does it, where we have the beats, we have the premise, there's a few jokes that I guess you could build off of if you're doing it in order. The idea of Guffman, it's like these ideas everybody can know that like, okay, this is what's happened at this point. And it sounds like he essentially gives them free rein with the character, like where they do those backstories with the surgery. Because that stuff's not like vital to the plot. So anything that's going to be like referenced again could just be kind of written and given to them.
okay.
Yeah, where it's like you kind of have the bones and then they improv the rest.
What was your favorite audition?
The favorite audition is gotta be the one, what scene does he do? He does it from Raging Bull.
Oh, that was so good. It was.
And you mean he starts doing both characters?
line.
Yeah.
Line.
Right.
And he dropped like 10 F-bombs, right?
Yeah, did you fucking me? No, it's just, that one's great. And he does get cast in the show, right? Is that what we learned? Or no? Am
I
mixing
don't believe so.
Okay, no. That's a shame.
I don't believe so. My favorite was Catherine O'Hara, Sheila Albertson, and Fred Willard, her husband Ron Albertson, and they had like a duet audition.
Yeah, they do like a double.
And the little like interview they had after it, for like the mockumentary style, cracked me up because like they make it very clear that Fred Willard is like a suppressed actor. And like he's always dreamed of acting and being on screen, and he's kind of like dragging his wife along to it, and she just kind of mindfully goes
Yeah.
along.
She
Which
gets,
I think,
she gets these digs at him though. It's really
Yeah.
it's really funny the way that their relationship evolves because it's not like a simple joke. It's
right.
um
I mean, is marriage ever simple? No. So
it's not.
I get it.
Cause yeah, like she immediately kind of digs at him for not having traveled anywhere, and then is immediately like, except for his surgery. Like she drops it early. She drops it
Yeah.
early. That's a recurring joke I think that like is well planted and picked up on. Like that's probably an example of like shooting them roughly in order and just like carrying over the jokes, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Um, okay.
So we have the auditions. Characters get cast. There's still 2 slots to fill. So they approach one man who is like one of the oldest Blaine residents. By the way, so are the Albertsons. They're also very old original Blaine residents, but they go to like the hick hokey pokey guy to narrate the production as a hick hokey pokey guy.
Yeah.
And then
It's the whole
Corky.
entrance about beans.
Yeah. He was my favorite character in the actual like play.
Like in the show.
Yeah, in the show. The other person he approaches it keeps with his closeted gay joke that he's clearly casting this kid because he's just a beautiful man.
Yeah. So yeah, like so Corky
Watch
is
my
very. He's immediately just like this closeted gay guy because he's got a wife, his wife, and he's like. He shops for his wife. But yeah, he goes to audition Johnny, who's just like the hot mechanic.
Does he really even audition to him? He's just like, we'd like to offer you the part.
And the whole time he's just they bring him into the different events, right? Because he goes in, he offers him the part, and then we see him in auditions or in rehearsals, right?
Yeah. I mean, you don't get much of him, but again, he's eye candy. He served the purpose that Corky brought him in for.
Yeah, Corky's like, need that. I like his motives are so just like plain as day, obvious. And then we get the call for the Guffman, who's like a Broadway exec. Did they tell us what the heck he is? He's like a Broadway executive.
Yeah. So his job, I don't know what this position would be called, but his job is to, terrible, I should know that as an actress. His job is to go around and find productions to, hopefully adapt to Broadway.
Mm. And this show is like the last thing they would ever be on.
Yeah. Like how they even got like wind of this. Oh no, because he contacted, that's right. He sent out a bunch of like inquiries and notices to.
Corky's proactive.
Yeah, he's very proactive.
Give him that. He's very proactive. He's got high hopes. That Corky. He gets himself so worked up. So anyway, he finds out about this and he's like, "We need more money." And he goes to the council and he's like, "We need more money." And they're like, "What are you talking about? Maybe we can be amenable." And he's like, I'd love to see. He's like, $100,000. It's just like, what? Like our annual budget is $14,000.
How much would that be for like the 80s? Like,
I mean, even now, if you're going to like a small town, like the town hall is gonna have like the dinkiest little reserve for stuff like this. The idea that they would have $100,000, it's just it might as well be $1 million.
So the council then ridicules him.
Yeah.
First they think it's a joke, and then they begin to like ridicule him, and this causes Corky to have a.
He has like a meltdown, yeah.
Massive, and he ends the production.
Yeah, I'm gonna bite my pillow.
Yeah, I'm gonna bite my pillow. That was like his last line as he left the boardroom.
God.
I'm gonna bite my pillow. So then the conductor of the
Yeah, he finally gets to take over, and he's just like so evilly happy about it. You know?
yeah, like so happy about it. And then the cast finds these
As soon
circumstances.
as he reveals it to them, they immediately run away.
Yeah, they're like, no. And
That's
so
how
they go,
badly they don't want to work with him.
yeah. So they go recruit Corky to get back onto the production. One thing about this little snippet of the film was it really reminded me of Dolomite, how like Corky is able to just like instill this like sense of enthusiasm into,
Just
you know,
complete loyalty.
yes, yes, yes. I just thought that was very endearing
Yeah.
and like love people like
The
that.
show
So,
needs him.
yeah, the show needs him. It really does. He wrote it, so
He did write it.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's not the last of it. The last of it is that Johnny then also bails out of the show. His coworker calls him. The shop calls him and says that he can't make it. So Johnny doesn't even he doesn't even man up to it. He like just straight up bails. So yeah, they when we get to the show, they introduce that like Guffman might be late, right? They're like, oh, he's running late. He'll be here though. And you immediately like I don't know. I immediately knew that I was like, okay, this is like the thing where he's not going to be there. So when he goes to the guy after the show, I'm just gonna jump ahead real quick. So like they put on the show successfully. We'll come back to the songs and stuff. And then like he immediately finds a guy who showed up late and is like, I'm gonna take you to meet the cast. Everybody wants to say thank you. And
Oh,
like,
and real quick, also just the reason they think that this is Guffman, other than the fact that he shows up late, is that he was sitting in Guffman's reserve chair.
oh, he just like takes the reserve chair.
Yeah, yeah.
I see. But like Corky doesn't ask any questions. Like he doesn't attempt to verify anything. He's just so excited.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it's obviously it's supposed to be cringing, but it's really bad when he like has some interest. He's like can you imagine like being that guy?
I know.
Oh, I believe you have staying for somebody else.
What was he there for? I remember it was
He was
like,
just there for somebody else's. He was like, I'm so and so's cousin. My cousin
oh,
is
that's
here.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, he just he was some guy who showed up late and took the reserve seat. So, womp womp. The show. So they wrote a lot of music. Music is a common theme in the shows. They have one called "A Mighty Wind," where they all play instruments. Obviously, Spinal Tap has a lot of the same people, and they play their own instruments in that. So Christopher Guest, big fan of music.
So, what was your favorite song?
My favorite song? Oh no. I should write these things down. Which was the one I liked the stool song was good.
Yeah, that was my favorite. I love the choreograph. That word. And you know, the stool props was hilarious, and it was just like the most absurd lyrics
Yeah.
ever.
That one was pretty funny. Yeah, like they do a pretty good job at being terrible singers though, I have to say.
They
Like,
do a good job of being terrible actors.
yeah. It is like pretty cringy. What's her name? Parker Posey is in this as just like a kid from the Dairy Queen. Who's just like so sad. She's like, yeah, when Mr. Guffman doesn't show up, she's like, they do like an aftermath. She's just like, I called the Dairy Queen. They said they'd take me back. And,
There's always a place for me at the Dairy Queen.
always a
Her
place for me
character
at the
just broke my heart because you could see this like woman who was just like wanted more out of life and wanted to get out of Blaine, but she just didn't know how to take control.
She's just not good at things. Like, she's just not talented, you know.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
she can work at the Dairy Queen, though, you know.
Yeah, so she kind of rides on coattails. And then, like, when she gets back to the Dairy Queen, I just thought it was so endearing that she was like, I have this idea for, like, new types of ice cream. Like, you could tell there's the drive, but, you know, the lack of confidence and then the lack of skill.
Yeah, you could apply it to anything.
Yeah.
No. So, yeah, she's a good one. It's all about the cast, really, when it comes down to this movie. Like, the trappings are, you know, they could be anything, and like but they come up with a fun cast. I really like Catherine O'Hara's. Hers was just like so ridiculous.
Oh, you know what we should touch on? We skipped over it. Was the restaurant double date?
Oh my god, yeah, the double date where where the cast is getting to know each other. Yeah, they bring back the penis or the surgery joke. And like Catherine O'Hara's really insistent on him telling this to people. She's
drunk.
Yeah, it's like, so great
at this point. So they're in some type of restaurant. They they start talking about China. Why? Yeah. I don't remember.
Because they're Chinese food, and then what's his name? Fred Willard's character starts trying to get them to buy tickets, trying to buy travel plans, because they're like, "Oh, you work at a travel agency. You guys must travel all the time," and he's like, immediately just goes into like salesman mode. But yeah, then Catherine O'Hara is just like, "You have to tell him about the surgery," and
surgery was so actually the way the surgery comes up is she is drunk and she asks Eugene's Levy's wife, how is it to have sexual relations with a man that's circumcised?
That's right.
And so that just leads into like an even more wildly inappropriate discussion where they discuss Catherine O'Hara's husband's penis reduction.
Yeah, he's penis reduction surgery. And then she has like such a good joke. They kind of like they go right over it. But she totally is just like, he wanted me to get a vagina enlargement. It's so good. She was like, nah, not having it.
Not having it. That's very progressive of her.
Yeah.
Make the man do it.
She's great. She has this ridiculous like hairdo going on the whole movie. The first time you see it, it's like, what is this? What am I looking at? Like, why is her hair so messy?
Yeah.
And then it just keeps coming back, and it's like, okay.
It's very reminiscent. Well, I guess this is
before.
The former will be more, yeah. Okay, let me just say it. It's very reminiscent of Cameron Diaz in Something About Mary.
Yeah.
Now, clearly that came out after Waiting for Guffman, so it's actually switched. But
yeah, a hairstyle that we don't see much of these days.
Yeah. And I was explaining to John that in this day and age, this is how women in this part of the U.S. did their hair, and some still do. You know, more power to you. But yeah, I guess you didn't quite understand the choice until I explained the history of hairdos.
All right. So, yeah, what do we think of this movie? I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. It's an actor's movie, you know. It's very niche. Very cult. I'm not the cult. I'm not a cult member.
So what defines cult then? It's like, because is it just like that it didn't do well upon arrival?
Well, I do think that's part of it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, because it has to have found some form of following, right?
Right. Like it develops its following and
Yeah.
fan base over time, and then that fan base becomes very loyal. It's not like a Marvel movie where like half the world is like,
where you
we
can
gotta
pour advertising and known
yeah,
IP on things. Yeah.
yeah. So I definitely think it's part of it. Uh, I'm trying to think of like other cult. See, like my cult stuff is very specific. Like Tu Wong Fu, I would consider a cult film.
I think Tuong Fu is a cult classic. I feel like for a lot of people, it's like a gateway to international film. It's a gateway film, if you will. Yeah, that one. I think of things like Clue, which, I don't think did much anything in the theater, but it's like everybody's seen it.
I haven't.
You haven't seen Clue? That'd be a fun one too. I think that's a better film than this, but it's very different. It's not like there is some improv element in that movie though. Just not to near the extent of this one.
So, what else would consider like
right?
What else makes a cult film? Like if anybody has any suggestions, please comment this below because like we've been, I guess.
Have you seen? Well, I mean, like Rocky Horror Picture is like the example of the one that like coined the term because they had like a cult following that would go up to all the shows and like throw popcorn at the screen and all this kind of like they really get into it.
That's more of a movie for like the actual cinema.
Right, but they do it on like these midnight screenings.
Right.
Like and they happen on a more persistent basis, I think.
That's like the ultimate cult classic.
Right, so that's the one that like, it kind of had this reputation of like if you go to a screening it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I still have gone to one's goals.
Yeah. I feel like the Room kind of achieved a version of that as well where like people wanted to see it live just because it's so awful. And they could share that experience.
Do you think that like cult classics are more likely to be quoted? Like, do more quotes come out of it? Is it more ingrained in our society than, let's say, well, I don't know, maybe, but like Mean Girls, I don't know. I wouldn't consider that a cult classic.
It's kind of a cult classic. I don't think it made gangbusters, but like people who love Tina Fey really love Tina Fey.
Yeah. But is that cultish, really? Like versus loyalty? Like,
or is it just popular? Yeah, like where's the line where it's like?
Personally, I think it's just popular because that's a film that like most people have seen, no matter where you fall on the spectrum of society.
Yeah, or like you've seen parts of it, or you've definitely seen. Like I feel like, that's one that we've even seen references to at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in a chain of references.
So, like, where is that line drawn though between? I mean, other than like, I guess the sheer amount of people that have seen it and love it, but like, where is the line between loyalty to actor, writer, director, like mix thereof?
I feel like cult classic implies that like it builds a following and gets larger with time. Also.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like I kind of feel like Mean Girls didn't do crazy at the box office, but like.
Do films like that ever really do?
Has it grown?
Yes.
I guess it has. Yeah, maybe it fits.
There's like a freaking Mean Girls Day, dude. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
This could be the cult classics show, really. I mean, we could just.
No, is there a point that once the fan base becomes, since it exponentially grows, is there a point that it now stops being a cult because everybody has jumped on board?
I don't know.
And it just
I feel like
it becomes a classic.
Yeah, like I feel like our film for next week is kind of falls into that where it's like already like it feels designed to be a cult classic almost.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I feel like satirical films, we'll tell you what the film is later, but like satirical films tend to fall in the cult classic category because satire is a very unique preference, I think, Especially when you look at the creators. Like, ultimate satirical productions period, South Park. And to me, they do a very good job of like offending me in one episode and then like drawing me in another. And I think that's the beauty of satirical films and productions. However, I think that a lot of I'm going to say it, a lot of people are not emotionally and like educated enough to deal with those types of scripts.
Emotional intelligence, is that what
emotional and educational intelligence,
Yeah.
like in general, like to know to take it as a joke and to not incorporate it into your life. But even then, people do, like the ginger joke in South Park, like that's still going strong.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, in South Park always is like very moment to moment, right? They do it like, we're gonna comment on this week's news this week. So I feel like when you're that immediately responsive, sometimes you can do things that don't age well.
Yeah, completely. So yeah, like satire, very specific niche. So I could definitely see Jojo Rabbit, but Oscar nominations. So like
you blew it. I said later.
I'm sorry?
We dropped the name. You dropped the name. I'm just.
Oh, sorry.
I can. Well, let's talk about it though. That's fine. So next week we'll be watching Jojo Rabbit. This one, it's fine. No, it's fine. No, we're closer to the length we want to be at anyway. So
I'm just so excited to watch this movie. Like John usually gives me like, various films to choose from, and then like my job is to pick. And this week we were just like, this is it.
She was like, I want to watch this movie.
Yeah. And we're thinking about having like a category to see what you guys would nominate. And I don't know if this was like, it was more of a joke, but I was like, Nazi films. Especially ones where they rewrite the history.
We're gonna do Nazi films and then like plant this one in there. But then it was like, I had the same plan for Spider-Man. I was like, let's do animated films and I'll plant in Spider-Man. And then it was like, actually no, let's just do the one that we want to watch. Like,
yeah, it's our show. No offense, we love you, but
yeah, we love you. So we're gonna do Jojo Rabbit. I haven't seen this yet.
Same.
So it'll be a first time watch me. It was one of those things where I wanted to watch it. Theaters, it kind of went out of our close proximity theaters kind of early. And it was just like, I don't know, now it's just been a waiting game. So, but we'll wait no longer. I'll watch it this week. I'm looking forward to it. Are you a fan of other Taika stuff? Taika Waititi?
I can't say off the top of my head.
So he did like What We Do in the Shadows.
I haven't seen that.
Haven't seen that. There's a show adaptation of it even on FX. Yeah, so it's a movie and it is now like a, I don't know, third or fourth season running show. He did the third Thor movie, Ragnarok, which yeah, you probably don't care for.
I don't care. Although I did audition. Funny note is I auditioned for a student film about that. Like they wrote I don't remember the script, but I remember being like, what the fuck is this? And then I had to look it up, and I was like, why am I auditioning for this?
Yeah. So why'd you want to see this movie? What brought this pick? Was there
Jojo Rabbit?
Yeah. Why this one?
Well, cults, true to form. I love me some satirical comedy. I've always felt like films should challenge you and TV should challenge you, and I don't think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And they should also challenge like the circumstances, and I especially love it when it's like Nazis being challenged. So
I hope my expectations aren't too high. I'm expecting a lot from this film. But I'm like,
plus, I love Scarlett Johansson. Like she's one of my newest actress obsessions. Late to the game.
She's like always the one in race trouble, though, right?
Yeah.
Like she's the one who's like playing, the Ghost in the Shell character, or like, and like putting her foot in her mouth about stuff. I love Scarlett, but like, it's interesting. Interesting choice. We'll see. I heard good things. I'm hoping it's good.
Did it win any Oscars? No, it was just nominations. Yeah, it had to be because Parasite took everything.
Was it up against Parasite?
No, was it up for best film?
I don't know. Should have looked this up before the show.
Yeah, we should.
It's all right. We'll introduce it next time with its awards and stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say that we didn't cover about?
Allow me to reference
this
my
movie?
notes.
Yeah.
No. This was a pretty simple film, so.
It was a very simple film. It's fun characters.
Again, it's an actor's movie.
Yeah, they're all like it's kind of like a just wasn't that a memorable performance kind of film where like there's certain things that are gonna stick out to you. But it's not like really trying to make you think super hard. It's a good movie to take your mind off of things.
Right. And again, just to reiterate, it's available for free on Vudu, VUDU, with ads.
Yeah. I'm not going to download Voodoo. Not going to do it.
It automatically comes in my Roku. That's how I know about it. And, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there to watch. It's actually quite impressive how much content is on there for free. But I'm of the generation where I've never had cable as an adult. So I'm used to the streaming life. And, like, I will pay the extra money for, like, the ad-free Hulu.
Yeah.
Like, I don't subscribe to the ad life. So...
yeah, ads are, they're the worst.
Yeah, so it was not something I was excited to deal with. And when there's so many other options.
Yeah. All right, so where can they find you, Rochelle?
Twitter at... What is my Twitter?
Oh, you know what? I put up both things, but I
Oh my god, why don't I... R-O, Rochelle. So R-O-R-O-C-H-L.
It's Rochelle?
Yeah, it's linked, and I'm sure it's in the frame somewhere. And then you can find me on Instagram, Rochelle Racine. I'm like newly obsessed with TikTok. Original content coming soon. That is Rochelle.
Is your content not original?
Not yet. Right now,
I know it's like you voicing over stuff, but it's still...
It's not voiceover. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's act over? What's it called?
It's lip sync.
Lip sync. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I have to make a public service announcement. TikTok users, stop hashtagging your fucking lip syncs as voiceovers. That's not what you're doing. It is not your voice. You are syncing you to someone else's voice. Do not take away the talent of voice actors. Thank you.
It's reverse. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's the little opposite of voice acting. It's lip syncing.
But no, right now it's not original. The app is kind of complicated.
It's kind of fun though. It's like I don't know. It feels like it's maybe it's not original. I don't. You're not making any money.
I'm still gonna do the lip syncs even once the original content comes out. But just because it's like it's fun. It's super fun.
That's what you get known for.
Yeah, and some people are just known for that. Yeah. I'm not particularly fascinated by that.
I'm still not on TikTok.
Huh?
I'm still not on TikTok, but I see them on Facebook.
You don't need an account to browse, which I think is really neat. And kind of revolutionary. But yeah, like it's a fun app. It's just really complicated to use. So I'm trying to get to know how to do that. There's so much you can do within the app. Like it's like I swear to God, you can edit more in that app than you can in YouTube Studio. I swear to God.
YouTube Studio's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst. You can find me at John in Paradox. There's no H in that. On Instagram or Twitter, though Instagram. This has been Viewing in Paradox. Our website or our Twitter is available, right?
Yes, our Twitter is available. It's at Views in Paradox.
Yeah, at Views in Paradox on Twitter. Soon.
Go subscribe
Instagram.
Because you're the first follower. And then Instagram is going to change soon. There's been some technical difficulties with changing that name.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so ridiculous. Like, what the hell, Instagram? So yeah, go follow us on Twitter for now. We'll link everything below.
Cool. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification. Assuming I'm doing things right on my end. I never know. All right. With that, I will say watch more movies.
Happy viewing!